If part of your fence is on a lean, don't worry. I'll show you an easy fix you can do yourself that'll get your fence nice and straight again. Now there's a few different reasons as to why your fence might be leaning over. Either the post is broken off below ground level, your footings are too shallow, or one of the most common reasons for a leaning fence is that a tree has grown up on the outside of the fence which has forced it over, which is exactly what's happened in this situation. So to fix it, I'm going to replace the old post with a new one. Okay, now before I cut out the post, what I'm going to do is actually support the fence. I've just cut a couple of bits of 3x2 here, and I'm going to screw that to our fence. That's going to support it when we actually remove the post. Now, a great little tip is using these 10 gauge Tech screws. Good thing about these, you can just use them over and over again. So we actually just want to screw in to each one of our rails. Now, just to make sure this is nice and firm, we've got to screw a brace to our prop. So we're just got to smack a peg down next to our prop. And attach another Tech screw. Lovely, that's nice and strong, so you want to do exactly the same on the other side of the post. Now, just before we remove our post, what I want to do is just take a little bit of that topsoil off so we expose the top of the concrete. Removing some of the topsoil will make it easier for me to remove the post. Now, one of my favourite tools of all time, the Mitre saber saw. This thing here absolutely loves to eat nails. So what we're going to use it for is to cut these nails from where the rails go into the post. Rightio, now we just need to try and roll out our post. Rightio, now that the post is out, time for the hard work is removing the rest of the concrete. Okay, the next thing we want to do is square that hole up, and then we just want to remove all the rubbish out of the hole. Now, as you can see down the hole here, we've got part of the root system that was responsible for pushing this fence over in the first place. So we want to get rid of that and then just continue cleaning our hole out. Now, just before we put our post in, want to make sure that our hole is deep enough. So I'm about 450 deep, which is around about the minimum you want to be for a post hole. Now, because that I've hit solid volcanic rock down there, I've actually just gone a little bit wider on my hole. The minimum you want to be is about 300 square, so I've actually gone about 450 square just to make sure there's enough volume of concrete around that post. Now, I've just attached the 4x2 to the bottom of my existing fence post. That's just going to give me a nice straight line. You can use a string line all the way if you like, but that way, by me using that, I can actually just fix straight through that with another Tech screw, and that's going to hold the bottom of the post nice and straight. Okay, now it's time for us to put our brace on, and then we can put our concrete in. Rightio, now that our post is in, fixed nice and securely to the bottom, we just want to make sure that that's plumb. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So the next thing we want to do is just make sure that our existing fence is also plumb. Now, to do that, I'm going to have to release the screws on our braces because we screwed that off when the fence was out of plumb. So we'll take the screws out and push that back over into the right position. Now I've set our rail 30 millimetres back from the front face of our post because that's exactly what they are on the rest of the posts. Now just before we attach our rails to our post, I'll put a level on our rails just to make sure that our existing fence is sitting nice and level, which it is. So now I'm ready to attach the rails. Now I've pre-drilled a couple of holes at 45 degrees. That way the timber's not going to split when I put the screws in. So you want to put in at least 4 screws per rail. Now that our rails are attached to our post, time to put back in our screw and our brace. Beauty. Now, time to throw some concrete in our hole. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now all we want to do is just let that set for 24 hours. Rightio, I've let the concrete set for at least 24 hours and I've chopped the top off the same height as all the rest. The last thing I have to do is remove my braces. So there we have it. We've fixed our leaning fence. Now that's going to last a good while longer.